Hi, I'm Jack Reiner. I'm the managing partner at the Graydon Law Firm in Cincinnati. 2021 marks our 150th anniversary. And while we are enormously proud to be celebrating our sesquicentennial, we understand that the reason we continue to exist is our clients. They're the reason we're here. They're the reason we're able to give back to the community in the many ways that we do. And so to celebrate this anniversary, we've decided not to shine a light on ourselves, but rather to shine that light on some of the clients we serve who are truly iconic parts of our community. We have launched a series of iconic conversations with these clients, and we're delighted to have this opportunity. Today, I'm lucky enough to be talking to Kitty Lensman. She's the president and CEO of CET and Think TV. Many of us in the Cincinnati area will know that is Channel 48 and is known by that designation as well. Kitty, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Jack. It's a pleasure.
Wanted you to tell us a little history of CET and Think TV, if you could. How long has CET and Think TV been a part of our community?
Well, Jack, I will say that we're not as old as Graydon and Head, but CET began broadcasting in 1954, and we were actually the very first licensed non-commercial educational television station in the nation. So we were number one. So about 45 years ago, we built a facility that's on the backside of Music Hall, if you've driven around that corner there, and right around the corner from Over the Rhine. We've been there and have been serving the community in that facility ever since.
That's fantastic. Well, you are not as old as Graydon. You are older than me by just a couple of years, and I believe that our former partner, Nelson Schwab, was, I believe, an original board member and did the legal work to incorporate WCET in 1954. So we've been associated for a while and delighted to be part of it.
Yeah. We have a copy of that incorporated letter in our lobby. I'll have to check and see if his name's on it. I didn't know that. That's terrific, Jack.
Yeah. We've had a long association that we are very proud of, and that to kind of help get that off the ground and be the first in the nation is really extraordinary, I think, in a lot of ways. So, what's the mission of CET?
You want the formal mission?
We want the formal
and
the informal.
The formal. Well, I personally think this is a tad bit too long, but the mission of our organization is to strengthen the communities we serve by providing media and services that inspire and inform, educate and engage, fostering citizenship and culture, ever more important so today, the joy of learning and the power of diverse perspectives. The short version of that is we want to be a valuable community partner to the people of Cincinnati.
And tell us a little bit about how you put that into practice, if you could.
Well, so, one of our main objectives is producing local content for both broadcast, but also for education. And that's a huge piece of what we do. And in fact, more than 50% of what we produce at any given time, we could have 30 projects that we're working on. Half of those would be dedicated to education. Citizenship and culture, I mentioned just a minute ago that is so important in all of our communities, both in Dayton and in Cincinnati. And I think that our organization can provide a trusted space to have some difficult conversations.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think some people might be watching, when they watch this, and they might think, does WCET and the public broadcasting system, do they serve the same role that they once did, given the proliferation of content and channels that people may have access to? Right. And I have a thought about that. I am a board member, and so it means a lot to me. But if somebody, challenged you along those lines, how might you respond to that?
We respond to anybody that calls us. So our chief programming officer probably talks to 25, 30 people a day. It's important. I mean, we're membership based. That is the lion's share of our support. And the PBS content we do not produce. The mainstay national programming that you might watch in prime time. But we do produce a lot of local content for our air, and we do take responsibility for fair and equitable presentations of material. Even more so with the work we do in education. CET and Think TV, we probably have one of the largest educational staffs of any public television station in the nation. We are very dedicated to our work in education.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I think another point that's worth making is that it is available
to everybody
for free.
Right.
It's over the air. You don't necessarily, people who may not have cable or otherwise, have a subscription service. So a lot of that content that people point to is subscription-based or what have you, whereas I think, Channel 48 and Channel 16 in Dayton, that's not the case. People can access it much easier and for no cost. That I think that's critical. I think that's really
Yes,
important.
you're absolutely right, Jack. In fact, we can reach 96% of our television viewing area. And in the state of Ohio, that was critically important during, COVID this last year, getting the governor's messages out. People that are at risk who maybe don't have internet access or broadband subscriptions, they could still access the information on public television.
Right. Which again, we really can't lose sight of that. And yeah, I was just thinking as I was getting ready for this conversation, just sort of, the lifespan of a viewer and, where we find ourselves at different times. I mean, I guess I was a little old when Sesame Street. I think it came on in 1969. Am I right about
They
that?
just celebrated 50 years.
Yeah, so I was about 12 and a little aged out probably of Sesame Street, but I think of as the offerings like as I got a little bit older with Masterpiece Theater or Austin City Limits. I was in Austin and went to the studios where Austin City Limits was produced. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But now, as a grandfather of four, I have come full circle, and I am very much into Sesame Street and Daniel Tiger and the offerings that are out there.
Yeah.
So we kind of go through that circle, and
there's a whole cycle. There's a whole cycle we call it, Jack, and we kind of lose like the tweens, the teenagers to then maybe 20 plus. But with programs like Downton Abbey, believe it or not, I mean, it really attracted a younger audience, the British dramas. Sure. And with our work in digital, we are now trying to reach out to the audience instead of asking them to come to us. So that's a big change for public television, and we're really making some inroads with that.
Exactly. And, I still think and watch frequently, well, not frequently, but I've noticed that the Ken Burns baseball program that was originally broadcast on PBS and Channel 48 is now a staple on the MLB network.
Right.
And it's great. I mean, I never get tired of watching that. It's just so well done, as all of Ken Burns' productions are.
Oh, yeah.
Nice that,
absolutely.
For that to be a platform, for sure. So you mentioned COVID a little bit, and it is kind of the elephant in the room, I think. Hopefully we're getting closer to turning the corner on it. But, what kind of unique challenges did COVID present over this past year for you and your organization?
Well, so COVID was a challenge for all of us, right? But when we think of public broadcasting, it was almost like we were built to handle this kind of challenge with content. We talked about how we could reach into many homes, and within the first, maybe 3 weeks of our stay-at-home order, it's been over a year now. It's hard to believe. we were able to, the state of Ohio, all of the public television stations, we changed our content, we changed our programming lineup during the day because we could physically do that. We don't have to report out to a national, network or, so to speak. And we did that to support parents who now were forced with teaching their children at home. We also created online workshops for teachers who found themselves having to teach technology to students. And then just the access part, we are still working on maybe a statewide data casting project where we can go into the homes of those families that are at risk or might have multiple children but one device and everybody has to get their homework done. And with the antenna and our service, we can actually deliver homework or videos or whatever the scope of the educational piece from a teacher might be. So, I mean, really, we were able to just pivot. I know everybody hates this word, but we did pivot and really try to use our strengths. And, the interesting thing is, it's what's the takeaway now? So we're all starting to kind of come back a little bit in some remote fashion. With some of the services we did, like with screenings or, Zoom meetings with donors or with projects, we were able to actually reach summer camps. We were able to reach more students, families, people, donors than we could if we invited them into our facility. That's a lesson learned. Not that we want to deviate from that. I gladly would love to have people come to CET and see our studios. Sure. But it's reaching more people. And I think that's a really positive lesson that we can walk away with.
I think that's a great point. I've thought about that too. I'm involved in a couple of different organizations where we, pre-COVID would do a twice a year lunch meeting for a diverse group. And we've had to do those virtually via Zoom, but I was able to reach out to a much broader audience, really a national audience, or not a national audience so much as I was able to reach to some people in New York and Atlanta and, elsewhere who would otherwise not obviously been in town for the lunch, but were able to participate. And I do think that is a bit of a diamond in the rough. But I mean, I think it's one that a benefit that maybe we really didn't think about until COVID came along. Yeah,
I agree. We hosted over the summer. We hosted 3 virtual summer camps, and we did have attendees from different states, children. And typically when we do these summer camps, we are delighted if we partner with other folks in Cincinnati and, different churches and schools and outdoor, parks and that kind of thing. But we typically would be delighted if we could reach maybe 200 children in a week during the summer camp. We reached 45,000 children over this 2 weeks of a summer camp. So, maybe that provided a little break for the parents, but it's really impactful when you really start adding up the numbers.
That's a big Zoom call.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's multiple calls.
That's a lot, though. Well, that's fantastic. So, what's the future look like for CET? What are you seeing when you look out the horizon a little bit?
I think the future is exciting. We are today one of the strongest public television stations in the state of Ohio, and we're well supported. Our community support really rallies around CET. The technology around us is exciting. We've just created a year ago, a new digital department. And I tell you, these young millennials are just mind-blowing. They're so bright and they know all these different platforms. And so we're experimenting. When you create for different platforms, it's a different process. It's not a Ken Burns, long format documentary. It might be a 3-minute piece on how to chalk paint with your grandchildren, or, that's kind of, I'm reaching, but, it's really exciting. Our work in education is more important ever, and it will continue with the educational slide that we're seeing. So we're we're a piece of that formula on how we can help our children get back on track and stay on track, and work closely with the teachers and our educators. It's exciting. I'm just always very amazed.
Absolutely. Well, are there some ways that people are watching and would like to reach out in some way or another to volunteer opportunities, or what can people do who want to help with the CET's mission here? What are some opportunities for them?
I have always been impressed. I have been with CET and Think TV combined for the last 12 years, and volunteers are amazing. We have a group of volunteers that literally come down to CET. Well, COVID kind of derailed some of that, but this is coming back for 30 hours a week. There are volunteer opportunities with our events, with our the CET auction. We have a very exciting Live on CET coming up that it's still under wraps, but that's going to be in October. But yeah, volunteer. We have Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook or Twitter. I don't tweet as much as I probably should, but I do, follow Facebook, and call us. I would invite anybody to come in and we'll show you around. We are a member-based organization. I'm sorry, what, Jack?
What is the website for people who?
www.cetconnect, CONNECT.org. We'll also begin, we're in a test phase right now, but we're going to start streaming our broadcast primary channel of CET 24/7 on our website. So you can also go there on your lunch break or something if you, just want a little break in your day. And
Or binge watch, I guess. Right?
Yeah, right. Oh, Passport. If you remember at the $60 a year level, you can sign up for Passport, which is really the ability to stream our content whenever you want, and you can binge watch. It's great. And I was going to mention that for parents, PBS Learning Media, if you want some visuals and some vetted and trusted content to, occupy your child and help them learn, pbslearningmedia.org. It's one of the largest repositories of material nationally, and it's free. So Jack, if you're babysitting your grandchildren and, you and your wife want like a 20-minute conversation, you can just plug them in right there.
Absolutely. Well, we do. We do utilize that service, believe it or not.
That's great.
Well, let's talk, Kitty, just a little bit about you. What was your journey that led you to the CEO and president position at CET?
So my journey. So I have actually worked for public broadcasting almost my entire career, 35 years. And I went to school on the West Coast, and before I graduated, I started an internship at the local public television station, and I studied broadcast production, and also I had an undergraduate degree in management. But I just fell in love with it. It was exciting. It was something that you could, feel really good about. So I stuck with it, and I kind of went away from production, went into like a development, fundraising. We're all in fundraising and public television. That's their motto. I got married and we moved to Miami, Florida, and I went to work for that station. And then while I was there, still in kind of fundraising, while I was there, I did national production fundraising for the station in Oregon, OPB. Kind of flies under the radar, but they are the producers of, or presenting stations of like the History Detectives, Travel with Rick Steves. I mean, they produced a lot of iconic programming for the PBS system. And then my husband and I bought a little farm up here in Ohio, and we were ready to make the jump back. And when I got here, I didn't want to do the national traveling any longer. I wanted to plug into the community. And so I came to work for Think TV first, and then CET. So it has been a journey, but I love the fact that we can connect with the community.
Yeah, that's great. And you do in so many ways.
Yeah.
You do. Well, so, you've lived several places in your career.
Yeah.
What would you, if you were trying to convince somebody to come to Cincinnati, what would you tell them? What would your sales pitch be to get somebody to transplant here?
So my first thing would be the sense of community. Cincinnati is such a wonderful city that embraces community. People are engaged with each other. It's also a beautiful city. I grew up in San Diego, California. That's a beautiful city. But Cincinnati reminds me a lot like a lot of San Diego with the river. It's diverse. The food is amazing, and you can eat any kind of diverse meal. I mean, it's all available. And one of my personal favorites is I love Over the Rhine. I love the fact that you can walk, you can go to a pub, you can have a nice dinner, you can walk in Washington Park. There's just so much, I really, I can't have my horse farm there, so I live a little bit outside of the city.
Right.
But I really do love Cincinnati.
Well, you'll be able to walk out of the festivals. Of course, you'll be able to walk out of the CET studio and walk straight down to a soccer match
right.
in a month.
I've been watching that whole thing being built, and it's pretty amazing. It almost looks like some kind of surreal spaceship that's just growing out of the center of that. But,
it does. I had a tour of it a few weeks ago, and it's very impressive. They did a great job, and I think it's going to be a nice addition to that neighborhood.
Oh,
and,
certainly.
The tie-in with Over the Rhine, and so I think it's great. It's now personally, when I get to that part of town, my dad worked for the Shaneling Brewery Company, which is where Sam Adams now is. So
okay.
That's my bit of nostalgia when I get over close enough to the old Shaneling place, but that makes me think of that. So let's talk. Those are all great reasons to come to Cincinnati. But what you have somebody coming in for a weekend? What kind of food would you take them to see or to eat, or is there an event that you'd suggest they come in for that's kind of unique to Cincinnati? What would you go for?
Well, I mentioned Over the Rhine, and there's so many restaurants there. Salazar, I mean, just so many favorites of mine. And I'm down there so much, I can walk to them. You have to have La Rosa's pizza. The La Rosas are so philanthropic to our community, and their food is delicious. Their food is absolutely delicious. I think Blink will be coming back in October, and the folks from Brave Berlin that kind of put that image mapping piece together, that is amazing to take a walk and experience these murals that come to life. That's a really great time to be in Cincinnati. And also, I think the CET Action Auction is a great thing that can bring you to. I'd be remiss if I didn't have my own plug.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many things.
I think there's. I still call it the Action Auction because that's what it was called. When I was a kid, and I've been lucky enough to work on it and do some auctioneering, and it's just a great. Just a great tradition. And
it's a lot of fun. And it brings, COVID, we had to change a little bit, but we're coming back. It brings about 1,000 people through our building in a week that volunteer, and it is fun. And I will say La Rosa's turns one of our studios into the best pizza kitchen that you'll ever dine in. So it's a lot of fun.
That is not the reason why I volunteer, but it doesn't hurt.
That and Grader's ice cream.
Oh, I know. Tell me about it. You're preaching to the choir here, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
When you talk about volunteer opportunities, I'll put in a plug. I mean, I think that it's really a fun thing to do, whether you're working the phones, whether you're, doing the auction, but, they're all sort of set up in these pods of time, and the excitement as the bids come in, and
right.
you going once, going twice, you really feel it, and the whole studio kind of gathers around it. It really is.
It's
it really
exciting.
is fun. I will put that plug out. And no roses and graders. I mean, what else? What else can we say? The other thing, you mentioned Blink. That's a great call.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till it's back. The first one, I still just remember how awesome the first one was, and I remember walking up by the courthouse and the way that was lit up, and it felt like Times Square. I mean, just in terms of the number of people and the energy. The times I've been in New York, and I've always enjoyed walking through Times Square, crowded though it was back in the day. But just to feel that in this city was phenomenal. It was. That's
and it takes people from like the city center down to the river. It's just you can do you're walking and just experiencing, have a drink along the way, whatever your fancy is. But yeah, Blink is just incredible. Luminosity was incredible. When they brought Music Hall to life, that was to see how many, 6,000 or more people in Washington Park. That was just amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah. I love the Western Southern fireworks, on Labor Day weekend. But I did tell people, I said, and I used to say I would bring people in I suggest people come in for the fireworks because it's just such an incredible display.
Yeah,
but when I went to Luminosity, I said, I got to be honest with you, this is a little more unique than, fireworks are fireworks at the end of the day. They shoot off a whole bunch of them, but Luminosity was just phenomenal. It really was. And Blink kind of takes it and just spreads it out, and not just to the river, but the last time it was across the river. So
that's right.
Yeah. So it's great. Well, okay, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking with you. I'm very proud to be part of the CET board, and I'm very proud of our firm's connection to CET. And it is truly an iconic part of our city. And we could not possibly do a series called Iconic Conversations and not talk to you and talk about Channel 48. So thank you for your time. Very much appreciated. Thanks for all you do.
And thank you, Jack, and thank you to the firm. Utmost professionalism with anything that we've dealt with you. And, it's just a great relationship, and we appreciate the commitment of Graydon Head.
Thank you very much.